Welcome back, data leaders. S3, making it your data warehouse. Steps to supercharge how you use AWS S3. The steps we are going to take is we already have established connection to AWS using AWS Wrangler and Boto3 session. The next step, we will be understanding how to read, pull, and push data or files into and out of S3 buckets like a professional. Third, we will understand what is a data warehouse, first of all. Because if you are going to own your own data warehouse, you should first know what is a data warehouse, right? After you understand this and a little bit of demo, we will go into Athena, Glue, and other related data pipeline services. So connecting to AWS S3 service. So we already saw this in the past. We created the AWS Wrangler and the Boto3 import in our Jupyter notebooks. And then we created the session using the Boto3 and your access keys in the previous videos. I will tag it on the top. You can just click the videos and just go there and have a look. You will get a good idea on how to connect and create session in Boto3 and use it with AWS Wrangler. Now we are going to enter into a different realm. We are going to upload file by using wr.s3.upload file, and we upload the file to S3 bucket directly. And note the point here, we have to use Boto3 session equal to your session. This your session is an object that is created here with the correct AWS access keys, secrets, and regions. Once you are able to do this, you will see that you can upload any file from your local file system, that is your hard drive, to AWS S3 without even touching the GUI. Then comes the important methods. You can also download, you can list objects inside the bucket, and you can delete objects. All these things using the AWS Wrangler library. And it is very straightforward, guys. Once you see the demo, you are going to love it. After that, there are methods of reading the files inside the S3 bucket. What I mean to say is, by using wr.s3.read FWF. FWF here is fixed width file format. Fixed width file format. This format is basically a tab separated or space separated file format. And we can read JSON, we can read CSV, and we can read Parquet files. What this does is, if you have a Jupyter notebook in your local drive or in some other cloud environment, and you want to read the data present in the S3 bucket, all you have to do is just give this kind of a link in this area, and you will be able to pull the data from the S3 bucket into the variable name, Python variable name, as a pandas data frame. If all this doesn't make any sense, hold on for some time. The next video, I will be explaining each and every aspect of these commands by a demonstration. I'll be showing what kind of variables are and how the variables look by by printing out the variables. I will also show how the files are. This is about reading and uploading, downloading, deleting files. But there is a very different full suite of methods to write the files to S3. All these are fine. So there are lots of functions, there are lots of methods. S3 is awesome. AWS Wrangler is awesome. You are still asking the same question. Okay, what is a data warehouse? There's a lot of discussion happening. And if you even go into internet, you will see that the definition is not very informative. If you go to Google and ask what is a data warehouse and try to go through the various definitions, it will be cryptic. In fact, there will be lots of information, but finally you will not be able to get any information out of that. Data warehouse is a central repository of information that can be analyzed to make more informed decision. Okay, that's a very informative way of telling I don't know what is a data warehouse. Again, what is a data warehouse? Data warehouse is a process of collecting and managing data from varied sources to provide meaningful business insights. I think this might actually make you think it is just a database, but in fact it's not. It's more than a database. We will see how this is different. Data warehouse is simply a connected network of computers. I'll be calling them as machines, which have the following. The distributed network of machines will have a distributed file system. For an example, Hadoop, or in case of AWS, it is EMR-FS. Second, it will have a database engine to query the Hadoop file system or the distributed file system. Example is Hive, or in case of AWS, it is Athena. Third, it will have a metastore. Metastore is the heart, or in fact, heart and brain of the data warehouse. In the example is Hive metastore, and in case of AWS, it is Glue catalog. Fourth is data transformation applications. Scala Spark, PySpark are the major players, and AWS also uses PySpark in the backend. In AWS, we will actually go through this in the future videos. In AWS, there is a different way of interfacing the Glue catalog with the PySpark in a different way. So you will have to understand that. In order to understand how AWS and S3, Glue catalog, Athena all work together, you need to have an overall picture of what is a data warehouse. And a regular definition that you find in any of the websites or any of the books, it's not going to be helpful. All these are simple problems that is solved by many people, and the libraries and applications have been created. Finally, most important, the data warehouse has a resource manager or a negotiator. Example is Yarn. Yarn has a very simple abbreviation. It is yet another resource negotiator. What challenge does a data warehouse solve? It solves two challenges. It makes it possible to work with files that are very much larger than your system's RAM. Your system's RAMs could be 32 GB or even 64 GB RAM. There are servers which have that much level of that much size of RAM. However, the data that companies like Amazon, Uber, Netflix have is in terabytes. If you are going to pull a huge, for an example, a region's customer database into the RAM, it's not going to fit. It is going to be more than 64 GB of RAM. At that time, you need to have a distributed network of servers with a huge amount of RAM that can process that data. Second, it provides data redundancy by distributing the files in small parts and across many systems. Okay, I will repeat again. It provides data redundancy, which means the file part that is in one server will also get copied automatically. You don't need to do anything. It is done by the algorithm underneath the distributed file system. It will do everything for you. That is why it is called as a data warehouse. It's not just a database. Database is in one particular server. Yes, there are data warehouses having a database server, but that is a different topic altogether. We will get to that later. But here we are talking about pure distributed file system data warehouses. Do not confuse between databases and data warehouses. Okay, now the very important question. Why you as a data analyst, data engineer, or a data scientist need access to a data warehouse? What will actually happen if you don't have access? There are many repetitive activities like data loading from multiple folders and splitting files that you have to do manually. This becomes a tedious task if you don't have access to a data warehouse or a distributed file system. You will see that as we progress through this series of videos, I will explain to you there are certain places you might be wondering that you have to do the multiple folders and file separation manually. But in fact, that's not how it is done. It is actually sent to a distributed file system, and the file system separates it into folders, separates it into files according to the partition. All these things we will learn in the coming videos. The second most important point is files that are ranging in terabytes can be read as just CSV files. You can have a file which is 15 terabyte and it can be simply a CSV file, and you can read it into the S3 bucket. It is going to accept it. And if you are going to try it in your laptop or your own server, it's going to crash. The program will try and execute, but it will crash out telling that my memory is insufficient. In such cases, first and foremost, you will go and search in the internet that why is this happening, and then you will realize, okay, my RAM or my system's capacity is not sufficient enough, and then you will have to anyway go to data warehouses. At that moment, having the ability to work with S3 as if it is your own data warehouse, your own hard disk or your own storage space is going to be very, very invaluable. Okay, I hope I have convinced you that you need one data warehouse, and I have also tried to explain to you what challenges data warehouse solves. Let us get back to WR, that is AWS Wrangler. We call this WR here because when we are doing the Python programming in our Jupyter notebooks, we will be importing AWS Wrangler as WR. If you are confused why I am using this, I'll be explaining this in the demo in the next video. So in order to start to file read, you have to first establish a connection between AWS and yourself. That is done through AWS session, as I explained earlier. And then we have these various read methods that we already saw, and we have the write methods. This write methods that I did not explain in the top is very important. If you have a very huge file, as I was explaining, that you have a 10 GB or 1 TB terabyte of CSV file and you want to write it to S3, how are you going to do it? There are multiple ways. You can actually upload it through the GUI. You can try to use AWS CLI. You can use Boto3. The most easiest method is to read the CSV file as a pandas data frame and then write the data frame as a CSV file to S3 bucket. You heard me right. You can write the pandas data frame object as a CSV file to S3 bucket using AWS Wrangler. You don't need to even convert it into CSV file manually. It will do it for yourself. Okay, it doesn't stop there. AWS Wrangler allows you to write it into various other formats also, like Parquet format, JSON format, and even Excel format. Okay, where this will be very, very useful. Assume that you are working in a different data warehouse. You are working in your own company's data warehouse and you have a huge file that you already processed. And now you want to move that file as an Excel to the S3 bucket so that other data analysts or the business leaders can look at the Excel file. Are you going to convert your data frame into Excel file in your local machine and then upload it? That will not be very professional, right? You have to be able to do it automatically. Forget about being professional. The most important is if you're going to create a data pipeline, it has to do the entire process and the output should go to the end source end sink or the end destination directly without you doing any of the work. That is why it is called as a data pipeline. And with these methods, to Excel, to JSON, to Parquet, to CSV, you can do it like in a fraction of a second. It depending on your internet access also. What are we going to do next? We will be diving deeper into each of the methods that I have shown above. I have already shared the GitHub repo with you all in the previous video. The link has been already shared. I will again put that link in this YouTube video also. We will first of all ingest 4 types of files into S3 bucket by using upload method. And also next we are going to go a little deeper into AWS Glue. I will give a demo. I will introduce AWS Glue and AWS Athena in after the demo of ingesting the file, and then you will see the real power of how having access to AWS Wrangler and becoming very much fluent with these methods of writing and these methods of loading and reading files will be very, very invaluable. As a recap, so I introduced what is a data warehouse, what is S3 buckets, how to connect to S3 buckets, what is the challenges a data warehouse solves, and why you need a data warehouse. We have covered all these things. In other videos that you have seen till now, you might not have got this kind of a view about data warehouse or the underlying applications. That is because this particular field of data engineering has been evolving rapidly. There is new tools coming with that solves various challenges every day. In fact, every second, new ideas are thought out by the engineers all over the world, and they want to solve the problem that they are facing specifically. Some of the problems are made into a full-blown product, and it is getting marketed. When you actually go and search it in the internet and you try to find these direct definition for a data warehouse, you will see there are lots and lots of marketing jargon coming into picture, and you end up getting confused. I was confused for quite some time once I started delving into data engineering and trying to understand the entire ecosystem. After a lot of struggle, lot of experimenting, lots of trial and error, now I have a better picture of the entire data engineering landscape, and I want to share it with you guys. So stay tuned, and we will jump into the demo of S3 uploads, file uploads, downloads using AWS Wrangler in the next video. See you there.